Have you ever pulled a quarter from your pocket, tossed it onto a table, and never given it a second thought? What if one of those ordinary-looking quarters could be worth far more than 25 cents? What if a coin minted more than 2 decades ago still holds secrets that collectors eagerly search for today? The coin we're talking about is the 2000 Washington quarter, a piece of everyday American history that millions of people have handled without realizing its story. At first glance, it may seem like just another quarter. But behind that small piece of metal lies a fascinating journey through American history, massive mint production, rare errors, and the thrill of modern treasure hunting. To understand why the 2000 Washington quarter matters, we have to travel back to the year 2000. America was entering a brand new millennium. People were worried about the Y2K computer bug, technology was rapidly changing the world, and the United States Mint was in the middle of one of the most successful coin programs ever created. The State Quarters program had begun in 1999, and it quickly became a nationwide sensation. Families searched through pocket change, children started coin collections, and millions of Americans suddenly became interested in coins. Every year, new quarter designs representing different states were released, turning ordinary change into miniature history lessons. At the same time, the traditional Washington quarter continued to serve as the foundation of the program. The Washington quarter itself had a long history. It was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of the birth of America's first president, George Washington. Designed to celebrate his legacy, the coin eventually became one of the most recognizable pieces of American currency. The 2000 quarter was struck at the famous Denver Mint in Colorado. The small D mint mark beneath the date identifies its birthplace. Millions upon millions of quarters rolled out of the Denver Mint that year, destined for cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, and countless pockets across the country. Because so many were produced, most people assume the 2000 quarter can never be valuable. And for the average example, that's generally true. Most circulated pieces remain worth face value. But in the world of coin collecting, value often hides in the details. Imagine 2 quarters sitting side by side. One is worth 25 cents. The other might be worth tens, hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. The difference often comes down to condition, rarity, and minting mistakes. This is where the story becomes interesting. When coins are manufactured, enormous metal dies strike blank planchets with tremendous force. The process is highly precise, but it isn't perfect. Occasionally, mistakes slip through quality control. These errors create coins that collectors love because each one represents a unique moment when the minting process went wrong. Some 2000 Washington quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes. Others show die cracks, die chips, or unusual doubling. While most error coins are minor, certain examples can attract serious attention from collectors willing to pay substantial premiums. Think about that for a moment. A quarter created by accident can become more desirable than thousands of perfectly made coins. But errors aren't the only thing collectors seek. Condition plays an enormous role in value. Most quarters enter circulation almost immediately after being minted. They get scratched, worn, dropped, and damaged over time. Finding a 2000 quarter that has survived in pristine condition is far more difficult than finding one that has spent years bouncing around in circulation. Professional grading services carefully examine coins under magnification. They assign grades based on preservation, luster, strike quality, and overall appearance. A coin that appears ordinary to the average person may receive an exceptionally high grade and become highly sought after. This creates an intriguing mystery. How many perfect 2000 quarters are still hiding in old coin jars, forgotten collections, or unopened rolls sitting in bank vaults? No one knows for sure, and that's exactly what keeps treasure hunters searching. Perhaps the most exciting aspect of modern coin collecting is accessibility. Unlike ancient treasures buried beneath deserts or hidden in shipwrecks, valuable coins can appear almost anywhere. A collector might discover one in pocket change, a family inheritance, a flea market purchase, or a forgotten piggy bank. Stories like these fuel the hobby. There are countless collectors who began their journeys with nothing more than a single interesting coin. One discovery led to another, and before long they were searching through rolls of quarters, learning history, and building collections that connected them to America's past. The 2000 Washington quarter represents more than metal and numbers. It represents a specific moment in time. It was born during a period of optimism and uncertainty as the world stepped into a new century. Every scratch, every mark, and every mile traveled tells a story. Consider all the places a single quarter may have been. Perhaps it bought a newspaper during the early days of the internet boom. Maybe it passed through hundreds of hands before ending up forgotten in a drawer. It could have crossed multiple states, traveled through airports, restaurants, gas stations, and grocery stores. Each coin has its own invisible history, and while millions of 2000 quarters were produced, each surviving example followed a different path. Collectors are often fascinated by this connection between history and everyday life. Ancient coins tell stories about emperors and kingdoms. Modern coins tell stories about ordinary people and the world they lived in. The Washington quarter itself has become an American icon. For generations, it has served as a small but powerful reminder of the nation's history. The image of George Washington connects modern Americans to the founding era, while the coin's continued circulation demonstrates how history remains present in everyday life. Another surprising fact is that many valuable coins are discovered years after their release. Sometimes collectors overlook unusual varieties for decades. Other times, newly identified errors emerge long after a coin enters circulation. This raises a fascinating question. Could there still be undiscovered 2000 quarter varieties waiting to be found? The possibility may be small, but it is never zero. That tiny chance is enough to keep enthusiasts examining coins under magnifying glasses night after night. The thrill isn't always about becoming rich. For many collectors, the excitement comes from the hunt itself. Every roll searched and every coin examined carries the possibility of discovery. It's a bit like fishing. Most days you catch nothing extraordinary, but every cast carries hope. And occasionally someone finds something remarkable. The 2000 Washington quarter perfectly captures that spirit. It is common enough for almost anyone to find, yet interesting enough to keep collectors looking. It stands at the intersection of history, craftsmanship, and chance. More than 25 years after its creation, it continues to circulate through the economy while quietly attracting the attention of collectors. Some search for flawless examples. Others hunt for rare mint errors. Many simply appreciate the connection to a unique period in American history. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson this coin teaches us. Sometimes the most ordinary objects have extraordinary stories. A quarter may seem insignificant, yet behind it lies a tale of a new millennium, one of America's most successful coin programs, advanced minting technology, and the endless excitement of discovery. So the next time you receive change, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that tiny D mint mark. Examine the details that millions of people overlook every day. Because somewhere out there, an ordinary-looking 2000 Washington quarter may be waiting to surprise someone. And who knows? That someone might be you. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 2000 Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible coin discoveries, hidden treasures, fascinating history, and valuable coins that could still be hiding in plain sight. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and always check your change. You never know what piece of history might be sitting right in the palm of your hand. What if I told you that a simple quarter sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 25 cents? Most people spend quarters without a second thought. They toss them into vending machines, leave them in cup holders, or let them disappear into couch cushions. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking coin turns out to be something much more fascinating. And today, we're diving into one of the most recognizable coins ever produced in the United States, the 2001 Washington quarter. At first glance, it doesn't seem special. Millions of Americans handled these coins every day. They passed through cash registers, gas stations, grocery stores, and banks across the country. Yet hidden behind this everyday piece of change is a story connected to American history, a massive coin program that changed collecting forever, and a few surprising discoveries that still excite collectors today. To understand why the 2001 Washington quarter matters, we need to travel back more than 2 centuries. The story begins with George Washington, the first president of the United States. After leading the nation through the Revolutionary War and helping establish a new government, Washington became one of the most respected figures in American history. His image eventually appeared on countless monuments, paintings, stamps, and of course coins. The Washington quarter itself first appeared in 1932. It was originally created to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. What began as a special commemorative coin quickly became a permanent part of American currency. For decades, the familiar portrait of Washington remained largely unchanged. Generations of Americans grew up carrying these quarters in their pockets. But by the late 1990s, the United States Mint was preparing something revolutionary. In 1999, the famous 50-state quarters program began. Instead of having identical reverse designs every year, each state would receive its own unique quarter design. It was one of the most successful coin programs in American history. Suddenly, people who had never collected coins before were searching through their change looking for missing states. Children started filling coin folders. Families compared collections at dinner tables. Banks struggled to keep up with demand. The entire nation became caught up in a giant treasure hunt. And right in the middle of this historic program came the 2001 Washington quarter. The letter P on the coin stands for the Philadelphia Mint, one of America's oldest and most important minting facilities. Established in 1792, the Philadelphia Mint has produced billions of coins and remains a cornerstone of American coinage. During 2001, the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of state quarters. For different states were honored that year: New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Each design told a story. New York's quarter featured the Statue of Liberty and an outline of the state. North Carolina celebrated the Wright brothers' first flight at Kitty Hawk. Rhode Island highlighted sailing traditions with a beautiful yacht gliding across Narragansett Bay. Vermont showcased the state's famous maple trees and mountainous landscape. These weren't just coins. They were miniature pieces of American history. Imagine receiving a quarter in your change and discovering a design you'd never seen before. That excitement spread across the country. People began checking every coin that crossed their hands. But here's where things get interesting. Because so many 2001 quarters were produced, most examples remain worth exactly 25 cents today. Yet some collectors spend years searching for exceptional examples. Why? Because condition matters. A coin that survives in perfect, uncirculated condition is much rarer than one that's been bouncing around in pockets for decades. Every scratch, nick, and mark reduces a coin's quality. Finding a 2001 Washington quarter with pristine surfaces, strong luster, and virtually no imperfections becomes increasingly difficult as time passes. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a numerical scale. High-grade examples can command significantly higher prices than ordinary circulated pieces. While most 2001 quarters are common, top-condition examples can attract serious collector attention. And then there are the errors. Coin errors have fascinated collectors for generations. Think about it. A coin is supposed to be manufactured perfectly. When something goes wrong during production, the result can create a rare and unusual collectible. Some 2001 Washington quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes. Others may show die cracks, die chips, or striking abnormalities. These mistakes transform ordinary coins into unique pieces that collectors eagerly seek. Imagine finding one in your pocket change. A coin worth 25 cents suddenly becomes a conversation piece. Maybe even a valuable collectible. That's the magic of coin collecting. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. One of the most fascinating aspects of the state quarters program was its impact on American culture. Before 1999, coin collecting was often viewed as a niche hobby. But the state quarters changed everything. Millions of people became collectors almost overnight. Schools used the quarters to teach geography and history. Parents encouraged children to learn about different states. Coin albums became best-selling items. Some people even traveled across state lines hoping to find quarters that hadn't yet reached their hometown. The 2001 Washington quarter became part of this cultural phenomenon. For many Americans, these coins represent memories of childhood collections, family treasure hunts, and the excitement of discovering a new design. But perhaps the biggest mystery surrounding modern coins is this: how many valuable pieces are still out there? Think about the billions of coins circulating through the economy. Some sit forgotten in old jars. Others hide inside inherited collections. Many remain tucked away in drawers and piggy banks. Could a rare error coin still be waiting to be discovered? Could a perfectly preserved 2001 quarter be sitting unnoticed in someone's collection right now? The answer is yes. And that's exactly what keeps collectors searching. Every coin tells a story. Some stories are obvious. Others remain hidden until someone takes a closer look. The 2001 Washington quarter may not be made of gold. It may not be ancient. It may not be one of the rarest coins ever struck. But it represents something equally important. It symbolizes a moment when an entire nation became fascinated with the coins in its pockets. It connected Americans with their history, geography, and culture in a way few government programs ever have. It transformed ordinary change into miniature history lessons and sparked curiosity in millions of people. Today, more than 2 decades later, these quarters continue to circulate. They continue to inspire new collectors. And they continue to remind us that even the most ordinary objects can have extraordinary stories behind them. So the next time you receive a quarter in your change, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Examine the design, because you never know what piece of history might be resting in the palm of your hand. And who knows? The next coin you find could be the beginning of your own treasure hunting journey. If you enjoyed uncovering the story behind the 2001 Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible coin discoveries, hidden treasures, fascinating history, and valuable collectibles that might be hiding in plain sight. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what's the most interesting coin you've ever found in your pocket change? Your next discovery might be closer than you think. The coin sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 25 cents. In fact, some collectors spend years searching through rolls of change hoping to find one special quarter that everyone else overlooked. And among the millions of quarters struck in the early 2000s, one coin continues to spark curiosity, attract collectors, and occasionally surprise lucky finders with unexpected value. That coin is the 2003 Washington quarter. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Just another quarter passing through cash registers, vending machines, and coin jars across America. But as with many treasures, the real story begins beneath the surface. To understand why the 2003 Washington quarter matters, we have to travel back more than 2 centuries to the birth of the United States. Since the nation's earliest days, coins have served as miniature pieces of history, carrying the faces, symbols, and values of an evolving country. By 1932, the United States Mint introduced the Washington quarter to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. What started as a 1-year commemorative coin became one of the most recognizable coins in American history. For decades, Washington's portrait remained a constant presence in American pockets. Generations grew up seeing the nation's first president staring back from the quarter. Yet by the late 1990s, the United States Mint launched an ambitious project that would transform the quarter forever. The State Quarters Program. This groundbreaking series began in 1999 and quickly became one of the most successful coin programs ever created. Every year, 5 new state designs were released, encouraging millions of Americans to collect quarters for the first time. By 2003, excitement for the program was at an all-time high. The 2003 Washington quarter was born during this remarkable period. That year featured 5 states: Illinois, Alabama, Maine, Missouri, and Arkansas. Each design celebrated a unique piece of American history and culture. Imagine the scale of production. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these quarters. Machines thundered day and night. Massive metal blanks moved through high-speed presses. Every second, coins emerged carrying images that would travel across the nation. Most people never considered where their quarters came from. They simply spent them. But collectors paid attention. And that's where the story becomes interesting. When a coin is produced in such enormous numbers, you might assume it can never be valuable. After all, rarity often drives price. Yet collectors know a secret. Not all coins are created equal. Even among millions of identical coins, some stand apart because of condition, striking quality, minting errors, or extraordinary preservation. Think about it. Most quarters immediately enter circulation. They get dropped, scratched, worn, and damaged over time. They pass through thousands of hands. They bounce around in pockets and cash drawers. Finding a 2003 Washington quarter that looks exactly as it did on the day it left the mint is surprisingly difficult. And that's where serious collectors become fascinated. A coin graded in ordinary circulated condition is generally worth only face value. But pristine examples can command much higher prices. Coins receiving exceptionally high grades from professional grading services often become highly sought after because so few survive in near-perfect condition. Imagine two identical quarters struck on the same day. One spends 20 years bouncing through everyday commerce. The other is carefully preserved, untouched, and protected from wear. Over time, the difference in value can become dramatic. But condition isn't the only thing collectors watch for. Mint errors create another layer of excitement. Throughout coin collecting history, mistakes have transformed ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. A tiny error during production can turn a common coin into something rare and desirable. Collectors constantly examine 2003 Washington quarters looking for off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, die cracks, and other unusual characteristics. Most searches end without discovery. But every once in a while, someone finds something unexpected. And that's what keeps the hunt alive. Picture a collector sitting at a kitchen table late at night, slowly sorting through hundreds of quarters under a bright lamp. Coin after coin appears ordinary. Then suddenly something looks different. Maybe a design element appears doubled. Maybe the strike seems unusual. Maybe there's a flaw nobody noticed before. That moment of discovery is one of the reasons coin collecting remains so popular around the world. It's treasure hunting without maps. Adventure hiding in plain sight. The 2003 Washington quarter also represents a fascinating moment in American culture. The state quarters program wasn't just about coins. It became a national phenomenon. Families collected together. Children filled coin albums. Teachers used state quarters in classrooms to teach geography and history. Millions of people who had never cared about numismatics suddenly became collectors. For many Americans, these quarters created their first connection to history through money. A simple 25-cent piece became a lesson about states, symbols, and national identity. And that's part of what gives the 2003 Washington quarter its lasting appeal. It represents more than metal. It represents memories. Perhaps you remember checking your pocket change as a child. Perhaps a parent or grandparent handed you a quarter and told you to save it. Perhaps you still have an old state quarter album tucked away somewhere. These personal connections often matter just as much as market value. Speaking of value, many people ask the same question. Could a 2003 Washington quarter make you rich? The honest answer is that most examples remain worth 25 cents. However, coins in exceptional mint state condition can sell for significantly more, especially when professionally graded at the highest levels. Error coins can also attract strong collector interest depending on the type and severity of the mistake. That's why experts always recommend checking carefully before spending older coins without a second look. You never know what details might be hiding in plain sight. Another fascinating aspect of the 2003 Washington quarter is how it demonstrates a fundamental truth about collecting. Value is not always determined by age alone. Many people assume old automatically means valuable. But collectors understand that rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance often matter more. A coin from the early 1900s might be worth less than a much newer coin with a rare error or exceptional preservation. The 2003 Washington quarter perfectly illustrates that principle. It's not ancient. It's not made of gold. It's not centuries old. Yet collectors continue searching for the best examples because quality and scarcity at the highest grades remain important. And perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. How many valuable examples are still hiding out there? How many remain tucked away in forgotten jars, dresser drawers, piggy banks, and old collections? How many people unknowingly spend them every day? Somewhere, right now, a rare high-grade quarter could be changing hands during an ordinary purchase. A cashier may receive it without noticing. A customer may spend it without a second glance. The story continues with every transaction. That's the magic of coin collecting. History never truly disappears. It simply changes hands. The 2003 Washington quarter may not be the rarest coin ever struck, but it occupies a special place in modern American numismatic history. It was created during one of the most successful coin programs ever launched, circulated through millions of lives, and continues to inspire collectors more than 2 decades later. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that small D mint mark. Examine the condition. Search for unusual details. Because hidden among ordinary pocket change could be a coin with a story far greater than its face value. And sometimes, the greatest treasures aren't buried underground. Sometimes they're already sitting in your hand. If you enjoyed this journey into the fascinating world of coin collecting, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible stories of hidden treasures, rare coins, and forgotten pieces of history that could be worth far more than anyone realizes. And before you go, check your pocket change and tell us in the comments. What's the most interesting coin you've ever found? You never know, your next discovery could be just 1 quarter away. I want you to imagine this for a moment. You're digging through a jar of loose change that's been sitting untouched for years. Pennies, nickels, dimes, and a handful of quarters spill across the table. Nothing seems unusual. Then your eyes land on a 2014 Washington quarter with a tiny D mint mark beneath the date. At first glance, it looks like just another modern coin worth 25 cents. But what if that ordinary quarter was hiding a story that stretches back nearly a century? What if it was part of one of America's most beloved coin series and, under the right circumstances, could be worth far more than its face value? Today, we're uncovering the fascinating story of the 2014 D Washington $quarter coin. A coin millions of Americans have handled without a second thought, yet one that carries history, artistry, and a few surprises that collectors are constantly searching for. To understand the 2014 D quarter, we need to travel back in time. The Washington quarter first appeared in 1932. It was created to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States, on the 200th anniversary of his birth. What was originally intended to be a 1-year commemorative coin became one of the longest-running and most recognizable coin designs in American history. For generations, Americans carried Washington quarters in their pockets. They bought groceries with them, dropped them into vending machines, and saved them in piggy banks. Through wars, economic booms, and technological revolutions, the quarter remained a constant part of everyday life. Fast forward to 2014. By this time, the United States Mint was producing quarters under the America the Beautiful Quarters program, a series that began in 2010. Instead of using the traditional eagle reverse design, each quarter celebrated a national park or historic site somewhere in the United States or its territories. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, struck millions of these quarters during 2014. But here's where things get interesting. The year 2014 wasn't represented by just 1 quarter design. It featured 5 different reverse designs, each honoring a unique location. These included Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Shenandoah National Park, Arches National Park, Great Sand Dunes National Park, and Everglades National Park. Think about that for a moment. 5 different stories, 5 different landscapes, 5 pieces of American heritage captured on circulating coins. Most people spent them without even looking. Collectors, however, paid attention. Every one of these designs tells a story. The Great Smoky Mountains quarter showcases the beauty of America's most visited national park. The Shenandoah design features a breathtaking view from Skyline Drive. The Arches quarter captures the dramatic sandstone formations of Utah. Great Sand Dunes highlights towering dunes set against majestic mountains. The Everglades design celebrates one of the most unique ecosystems on Earth. Each quarter became a miniature work of art, traveling across the country in cash registers, wallets, and coin jars. But if millions were produced, why do collectors care? The answer lies in condition. Most 2014 Washington quarters entered circulation immediately. They bounced from hand to hand, accumulating scratches, dents, and wear. Over time, pristine examples became much harder to find. Imagine two identical quarters minted on the same day. One spends years in circulation. The other is carefully preserved from the moment it leaves the mint. The circulated coin may still be worth only 25 cents. The pristine coin, especially one graded at the highest levels, can command significantly higher prices among collectors. That's where the hunt begins. Coin collectors are obsessed with condition because perfection is rare. A quarter that looks ordinary to the average person may reveal microscopic imperfections under professional examination. Tiny contact marks, weak strikes, or slight discoloration can dramatically affect value. This is why professional grading services exist. They evaluate coins using a detailed numerical scale, and the difference between a high-grade coin and a near-perfect coin can mean the difference between a few dollars and a much more impressive amount. Collectors are always searching for errors and varieties. Mistakes happen during the minting process. Sometimes a coin is struck off-center. Sometimes doubling appears in the design. Occasionally, other unusual production errors slip past quality control. Most 2014 quarters are completely normal. But when a genuine mint error is discovered, collectors take notice. That's part of what makes coin collecting feel like a treasure hunt. Every quarter becomes a mystery. Could this one be different? Could this ordinary-looking coin be hiding something special? Millions of people unknowingly spend potentially collectible coins every year simply because they never look closely. And that brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of modern coin collecting. Unlike ancient treasures buried beneath the earth or rare artifacts locked away in museums, valuable coins can still be found in everyday circulation. Think about how incredible that is. You don't need a treasure map. You don't need expensive equipment. Sometimes all you need is patience and curiosity. Many collectors began their journeys with a single coin discovered in pocket change. One unusual find sparked a lifelong passion. Perhaps that's why quarters remain among the most popular coins to collect. They're accessible, they're familiar, and occasionally they surprise you. The 2014 Washington quarter also represents an important chapter in American coinage because it reflects how the United States uses coins to tell stories. Coins are more than money. They're historical documents. They preserve national achievements, cultural values, and important landmarks. Long after we're gone, future generations may examine these quarters and learn about the places Americans chose to celebrate in the early 21st century. In a way, every coin becomes a tiny time capsule. The 2014 quarters capture a moment when America turned its attention toward natural beauty, conservation, and the preservation of historic landscapes. That's a powerful legacy for a simple 25-cent coin. And here's a question worth considering. How many people carried a 2014 quarter in their pocket without ever noticing the national park displayed on the reverse? Probably millions. Yet the design was there all along, quietly telling a story. That's one of the reasons collectors become so passionate about coins. Once you start paying attention, you realize that every coin has something to say. Some reveal stories of presidents and nations. Others reveal stories of artists, engravers, and mint workers. And a few reveal stories of unexpected discoveries. Imagine finding a high-grade 2014 quarter tucked away in an old collection. Imagine discovering a genuine mint error hiding among ordinary change. These possibilities keep collectors searching year after year. The odds may be slim, but that's the thrill. Treasure hunting isn't always about finding gold. Sometimes it's about finding something overlooked, something others missed, something hiding in plain sight. As we reach the end of our journey, the 2014 Washington Quarter stands as a reminder that extraordinary stories can be hidden inside ordinary objects. It represents nearly a century of Washington Quarter history. It celebrates America's natural wonders. It fuels the excitement of collectors who continue searching through rolls of coins and jars of spare change, hoping to uncover something special. The next time you receive a quarter in change, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Study the design. You might be holding a piece of history that most people would never notice. And who knows? That seemingly ordinary 2014 Washington Quarter could be the coin that starts your own treasure hunting adventure. If you enjoyed the story and love discovering the hidden history and value behind everyday coins, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for more fascinating coin adventures. Because the next incredible treasure might already be sitting in your pocket, waiting to be found. Have you ever checked the change in your pocket and wondered if one ordinary-looking quarter could be worth far more than 25 cents? What if a coin millions of people have spent without a second thought was quietly hiding a story of American history, craftsmanship, and collector fascination? Today, we're diving deep into the 2018 Washington $quarter coin, a modern coin that many people overlook, but one that carries a remarkable story behind its small size. At first glance, the 2018 Washington Quarter doesn't seem particularly special. It's a coin that passed through cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks across America. Yet behind that familiar design lies a fascinating chapter in one of the most ambitious coin programs ever created by the United States Mint. To understand this coin, we need to travel back nearly a century. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. What was initially planned as a one-year commemorative issue became so popular that it permanently replaced the standing Liberty Quarter. Since then, Washington's portrait has remained one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Fast forward to 2018. America was in the middle of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, a series that began in 2010 and celebrated national parks and historic sites from every state, territory, and the District of Columbia. Each year, 5 new quarter designs were released, turning everyday pocket change into miniature works of art and history lessons. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P Mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of quarters during 2018. The Philadelphia facility itself is legendary. Founded in 1792, it was the nation's first official mint and remains one of the most important coin-producing facilities in the world. Every coin bearing the P Mint mark carries a connection to that long and prestigious heritage. What makes the 2018 P Quarter especially interesting is that it wasn't just one coin. 5 different reverse designs were released throughout the year. These included Pictured Rock's National Lakeshore in Michigan, Apostle Island's National Lakeshore in Wisconsin, Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota, Cumberland Island National Seashore in Georgia, and Block Island National Wildlife Refuge in Rhode Island. Each design tells its own story. The Pictured Rocks Quarter showcases the stunning sandstone cliffs rising above Lake Superior. These colorful cliffs have amazed visitors for generations, and the coin captures a moment of natural beauty that many Americans may never see in person. The Apostle Island's design features sea caves shaped by centuries of wind and water. Looking at the coin, it's easy to forget that this tiny piece of metal represents landscapes carved by nature over thousands of years. Voyageurs National Park honors the adventurous fur traders and explorers who once traveled the waterways of northern Minnesota. The design evokes a spirit of exploration and discovery that helped shape North American history. Cumberland Island celebrates one of the most unique coastal environments in the United States, famous for its wild horses, pristine beaches, and rich biodiversity. Finally, the Block Island National Wildlife Refuge Quarter highlights a black-crowned night heron in flight, symbolizing conservation and the protection of America's natural treasures. Think about that for a moment. A single year of quarter production captured 5 completely different stories, 5 different landscapes, and 5 unique pieces of American heritage. But here's where things become even more interesting. Most people assume that modern quarters have little value beyond face value. After all, billions have been produced. Yet collectors know that condition changes everything. A quarter that spent years rattling around in pockets may be worth only 25 cents. However, a coin preserved in pristine condition can attract serious attention from collectors. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. Coins that achieve grades of MS67, MS68, or higher are considered exceptional. Because modern quarters are produced in huge numbers, finding one with virtually flawless surfaces and perfect striking characteristics can be surprisingly difficult. This creates a fascinating contradiction. Millions of coins exist, yet only a tiny fraction survive in truly elite condition. As a result, some top-graded 2018 P quarters have sold for prices that surprise many people. While ordinary circulated examples remain common, premium-grade specimens can command significant premiums in the collector market. Then there are the errors. Coin errors have fascinated treasure hunters for decades. During the minting process, tiny mistakes can occur. These may include off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, or other unusual characteristics. Most coins leave the mint exactly as intended, but every now and then, a mistake slips through quality control. When that happens, an ordinary quarter can suddenly become a collector's prize. Imagine receiving change at a grocery store and discovering that one quarter contains a rare minting error worth many times its face value. It sounds unlikely, but stories like this continue to fuel the excitement of coin collecting around the world. One of the most remarkable aspects of the 2018 P quarter is how it bridges the gap between everyday commerce and historical preservation. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, these quarters circulated through the hands of ordinary Americans. They paid for meals, gas, groceries, and countless daily transactions. Every coin carried its own invisible journey. Perhaps one traveled across the country from Pennsylvania to California. Maybe another spent years in a child's coin collection before returning to circulation. Each piece became part of thousands of personal stories while simultaneously preserving a small piece of national history. This connection between people and history is one reason coin collecting remains so popular. Coins are time capsules. They survive economic changes, technological revolutions, and generations of human experience. And while the 2018 P Washington quarter is still relatively young compared to older collectible coins, its story is already unfolding. Future collectors may look back on these coins as important representatives of early 21st century America. There's also a broader cultural significance worth considering. The America the Beautiful series reflected a national effort to celebrate landscapes, wildlife, and historical sites that define the American experience. At a time when much of life was becoming digital, these coins offered a tangible reminder of real places, real history, and the natural wonders that continue to inspire millions of visitors every year. How many people spent these quarters without ever noticing the artwork? How many overlooked the detailed engravings that honored national parks and wildlife refuges? And how many rare high-grade examples are still hiding in rolls, jars, drawers, and collections waiting to be discovered? Those questions continue to drive collectors, treasure hunters, and curious hobbyists alike. Perhaps that's the true magic of the 2018 P Washington quarter. It reminds us that extraordinary stories can hide within ordinary objects. A coin worth only 25 cents can connect us to American history, national parks, artistic achievement, and the thrill of discovery. The next time you receive change, take a closer look. You might spot one of the 5 2018 designs. You might find a beautifully preserved example. You might even uncover a valuable error coin. And even if you don't, you'll be holding a small piece of history that traveled through countless hands and carries a story far larger than its size suggests. That's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's not just about money. It's about history, mystery, adventure, and the possibility that the next great discovery could already be sitting in your pocket. So, what do you think? Have you ever found an unusual quarter in your change? Could a hidden treasure be waiting in your coin jar right now? Let us know your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the fascinating history hiding in plain sight. Because sometimes the smallest objects tell the biggest stories.